how to become a billionaire from where I'm at right now. To do that, I need a huge, giant action plan that involves a lot of failures, a lot of misfires, a lot of starts, but I didn't have the fuel to finish. A lot of mistakes are gonna happen, right? When you push through the grind and like, okay, I'm gonna show up anyway. And then all of a sudden, and this is where I agree, I start creating, I start doing my deal. I start finding out who I really am. I start getting to exercise my creativity. And then I'm like, oh dude, that's what I'm here for. I'm in my purpose now. And let me just say that like in the beginning, when you're trying to build something, sometimes, particularly when you don't have anything, like I was 25 years old and I was broke. And by the time I'm 30, I'm like, oh dude, I'm starting to find my legs, I was actually very good by the time, when I made a decision, okay, I'm gonna learn how to do one thing well, almost immediately I started doing that thing well, okay? That time I was in sales and I hated sales, and I made a commitment, I'm gonna get great at sales. And then before I was 26 years old, I was like, dude, I'm a superstar salesman. But the point of that is, like when you start winning at levels that are more consistent, okay, with who you really are, you do become excited. Yeah, just, this is a really difficult thing for people. I mean, I hear people constantly say, hey, how do I get motivated? How do I show up every day? How do I discipline the muscle? Dude, you gotta show up even if your eyes are bleeding. The only thing I've ever really trusted, and I still do that today at 57 years old, is my ability to work. To show up, work early, work late. I probably still do 14-hour days on an average. Because look, when you start showing up every day, and when you start getting the confidence to show up early, stay late, when you're there making stuff happen when nobody else can, you are gonna appear to be cocky to other people.
I wish somebody had sat down and said, entrepreneur definition, someone who organizes a business or businesses and takes greater than normal risk in order to do so. And then I wish I would have understood what it is. Like somebody would have sat down and said, look, the entrepreneur starts by themselves, then they add people, then they're providing jobs and opportunities and building a team where people can actually have a like-minded strategy. A team, being part of a team is a really important thing. If you're young, whatever that means, I would quit telling people your age. Like I would not lead. I'm only 22. Don't open with that. Nobody cares about your age. The only thing anybody cares about is their own age. What you want to lead with is your ability to get attention. So if you could learn about algorithms, getting eyeballs, keeping eyeballs, surveys, learning how to keep people's attention, man, you're gonna be unbelievable. And it won't matter how old you are, by the way. You got to take risks. You got to take risks. You got to take risks. I mean, that is what an entrepreneur does. Like and a lot of people call themselves entrepreneurs. I'm like, you need to look up the definition. Okay, you are violating the one most important thing about being an entrepreneur. Take risks. Yeah, so best advice I ever received, my mom said, hey, invest in yourself. You'll never lose. I have reminded myself of that so many times. Workshops I go to, events that I attend, where I'm going as somebody to get educated, okay? Books that I've read, I'm like, it's not a waste of time. Even if you don't think you learned anything, it is not a waste of time. You think you haven't, that it was a waste of time or you didn't learn anything because you hadn't used it yet. You may use that piece of data one day. Number one, anything you invest in time or money in trying to improve yourself, you're not gonna lose that.
You got to have focus. Hey, what am I going to do? This is an unbelievable time, unbelievable opportunity right now for you guys to be connected to almost anybody you want to be connected to. That's the good news. You need to be really narrow about who you're going to study. If you're studying people, looking for mentors, you don't need 3 mentors. You need one guy that you can study. He's your guy or gal, and you go deep on that dude. Doing wins. When you're doing, you start learning a lot of things that you didn't know. You're going to figure out your brand. You're going to figure out your pitch. You're going to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what people like, what they don't like. If you're an artist, you want to do a lot. You want to do a lot of art because then you're going to discover what people actually like. You're going to learn stuff that you just can't learn in the classroom by doing. So number one, I wake up, I beat the sun up. If I can beat the sun up, I feel like, man, I beat the rotation, right? Number two, I go take a leak. Number three, I write my goals down. I write my goals down in the morning, like my big goals. I write them down in the morning, I write them down at night, and then I try to get a workout in every morning, and then I come to work. I have a meeting at 9:06 in the morning, and then do the rest of the day. It's just like insanity. I'm looking at what I think I can do. I'm looking at what I've seen other people do. Like it's inspirational to me, and I have not figured it out. Now, that being said, I take really strong positions on what I think I'm right about. I'm not trying to convince other people. I'm just like, this is what I do. I have to know I'm right. Somebody came down with a finger and said, hey, you rested, you got comfortable, let me show you what I can, and they just pulled the rug out, right? So I watched all this wealth that I had spent 20 years creating, just like go out with the tide. When I got married and started having kids, that's when I was like, hey, you need to get your freaking act here on point. And so like I'm in beast mode every day, trying to reach for what I can do, not what I have done. I'm just gonna focus on this one thing I hate. And that is one thing that I will give myself a pat on the back for. Like if you can put your ego aside, you know, when you wanna turn your life around, put your ego aside and say, hey, I got this one thing in front of me, I don't even like it. If you can learn to get great at something you hate, I guarantee you will have greatness in your lifetime. I do stuff constantly I don't want to do. It doesn't matter what I want to do. You know, what's my purpose? What's my potential? And am I willing to work toward that? So an idea that I would work 4 hours, no, well, that's just not real for me. Like, I would not read the book. I want to be great at what I'm doing. And I know without reading any book, I have to dedicate time and energy, effort, and I have to hit. I have to be frequent. You know, I've never gotten good at anything. It's been a lot of work for me. So everything for me, whether I'm that little uncoordinated kid, it's taken a lot, you know, it's taken me 30 years to find any kind of success or any sense of, okay, I'm starting to find myself. And the concept here is you're thinking about yourself all the time. What you don't have, what you need, your clothing, your shelter, your excuses, your problem. 10X rule really was in this evolution of my problem, seeking to solve my own problems as an entrepreneur, as a father now, because I was just becoming a father in those years. So I got to be on my game. If I'm going to tell somebody, hey, I'm coming in here to help you solve your problems, I got to be on my game every day. But I was having my own problems. And so the 10X rule was really about how could I literally expand my thinking, 10X the activity necessary with the limited time that we all have. How could I 10X my activity, be more places, be more social, have more family, have more. I know it sounds impossible, but the reason it's impossible is because everybody's thinking they need to balance life. Yeah, you know, look, if you're going to be a great golfer, you better get obsessed about it, because the levels of greatness in the game of golf are so freaking severe that if you're not obsessed, you have no chance on talent to win at that game. Talent will not get you there. In most games. I'm obsessed with creating a phenomenal life, because I believe this: if you're not obsessed with a phenomenal life, you end up with the other kind of life, which is average. And for most people, an average life is just a life that they've accepted. Like I've over years, it's like a rock, you know, a rock just gets worn down by the ocean day after day. And finally one day, I started as this exceptional thing created by the universe, by some magnificent power, and then 40 years later, I'm just, yeah, it's all average, dude. Average family, average kids, average education, average house, average income. I got another 40 years left on my watch here, bro. It's gonna be average. It's just gonna keep freaking getting average. If you want a better condition for you and your family, you gotta figure out, you gotta get extremely focused. You're gonna have to get 10X about it. I mean, you're gonna have to demand it from the universe. You have to demand that this become like something that physical universe takes you serious about, like, oh, this guy's not kidding, he really wants this.